My brother called me on a Wednesday night in October, which already should have told me something. He never calls. He texts, and even then it's usually a meme or a thumbs up emoji in response to something I said 3 days ago. So when his name lit up my phone at 10:47 p.m., I picked up before the second ring. Hey, he said. So mom and dad are thinking about doing something for Thanksgiving this year. Like a real thing. A cabin up in the Smokies, the whole family, the kids, everything. I was sitting in my apartment in Nashville, half watching a show I'd already seen twice, eating cereal because I'd worked a 12-hour shift and hadn't made it to the grocery store. Okay, I said, that sounds nice. Yeah, a pause. They were kind of hoping you would handle the booking. I should have asked more questions right then. But I was tired, and he's my brother, and I said sure, send me the details. That was the first mistake. My name is Quinn. I'm 31. I'm a physical therapist, and I have been the family fixer for so long that it stopped feeling like a choice and started feeling like a job description. The kind with no salary, no PTO, and definitely no performance review where someone sits you down and says, "Hey, we really appreciate everything you do." I'm the youngest by 6 years. My brother Wade is 37. He has a wife named Cheryl and 2 kids under 8. And somewhere along the way, having kids became the thing that excused you from every other obligation. Can't make it to dad's birthday dinner. The kids. Can't help move mom's furniture when she redecorated. The kids. Can't contribute to the cabin booking, apparently. The kids. I don't have kids. I have a studio apartment, a reliable car I pay for myself, and a savings account I built from scratch after graduate school. In my family, that combination apparently reads as bottomless resource, no strings attached. The cabin was $2,800 for 4 nights. I booked it on my credit card because my dad said he'd Venmo me back once he sorted out some stuff with the truck payment. My mom said she'd get me after the holidays. Wade said, and I'm quoting directly here, "We're a little tight right now, but we'll figure it out. You know how it is." I did not know how it was because I had budgeted carefully and paid my own bills, but I said sure. I always said sure. This is the part I have to be honest about. I let it go on for years, not just this cabin. Before the cabin, there was the emergency car repair I covered for my dad when he said the bank wouldn't give him the loan. The 2 months of their mortgage I floated when they were between things, which turned out to mean my dad had quit his job without telling anyone and spent 3 weeks convinced he was going to flip houses. The new washing machine when theirs broke, and they said they didn't have the cash. Wade's kids' school supplies when he texted me a photo of the list with a sad face emoji. My mom's vet bills for a dog I had never met. Every single time, the phrase was some version of "just this once," or "we'll pay you back when things calm down." Things never calmed down. The payments never came. I drove up to the Smokies the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, 8 hours from Nashville, a cooler full of food in my back seat because I'd offered to handle groceries too. Because of course I had. When I pulled up to the cabin, my parents were already there. My mom was on the porch with a glass of wine. My dad was inspecting the fire pit like he was about to write a Yelp review. Wade's SUV was in the driveway, which meant he and Cheryl had beaten me there with the kids. My mom waved. "Quinn, we were wondering when you'd get here. Wade's kids have been asking about you all day." I grabbed a bag from my back seat and started toward the porch. I was tired from the drive and genuinely happy for about 45 seconds. Then my dad said, without looking up from the fire pit, "Hey, so we talked to Wade and Cheryl, and since you're not juggling kids this weekend, we figured you'd dig the pullout couch. The kids need the second bedroom." I stopped walking. I booked the master bedroom. The master's got the best bathroom. My mom's voice was light, like this was obvious. "Cheryl needs the space to bathe the kids. You know how it is in the morning with little ones. You can use the hall bath." I looked at the cabin I had researched, selected, booked, and paid for in full. I looked at my mom, comfortable on the porch with her wine. I looked at my dad still crouched by the fire pit. And I felt something I had felt before, That familiar hollowing out. That moment where you realize you have been slotted into a role and everyone else already knows the script except you. Sure, I said, and I carried my bag inside and made up the pull-out couch. Here's what happened at dinner that night that broke something open in me. We were all at the table. My parents, Wade and Cheryl, the kids climbing on everything, and my mom started talking about Christmas. Specifically, she started talking about the idea of doing Christmas at my apartment in Nashville because it was so central and such a manageable size for the kids, and how she'd already mentioned it to a few relatives who thought it sounded lovely. I haven't agreed to that, I said. Oh, it'll be fun. You don't have to do much, we can all pitch in. Wade said, the kids would love it. Cheryl said, we can do the drive in one day, honestly. My dad said, your place has that nice open layout. Everyone had an opinion about my apartment. Everyone had plans for my holiday. Not one person had asked me. I didn't say anything else that night, but I went to the pull-out couch I was sleeping on in the cabin I had paid for, and I did not sleep. I lay there in the dark, listening to my brother's kids argue about something through the wall, and I opened my banking app. I had started keeping records about 14 months earlier. After one too many "I'll pay you back" texts that stopped getting answered. Nothing dramatic, just a note in my phone, dated entries, amounts. I'm a therapist. I understand documentation. I transferred it to a spreadsheet the night of the cabin dinner, cross-referenced with bank statements and Venmo records and the text side screenshot. The number that came up was $20,400. Not $60,000. Not some dramatic Hollywood sum, but $20,400 is what I had quietly handed to my family over 3 years while they called me responsible and self-sufficient and so easy to count on, while they made plans that included my wallet without including my opinion. I also found something I had almost forgotten about. 2 years earlier, my parents had asked if they could add me to their checking account for emergencies, just in case something happens and someone needs access. I said yes because it seemed reasonable, because they were my parents, because at 31 I still defaulted to trust. But then I looked at the transaction history and what I found was that my name being on that account had allowed my mom to add me to a recurring transfer she had set up with their bank, pulling $50 a month from my account directly into theirs labeled family support. She had never mentioned this. It had been running for 16 months. I stared at that line for a long time. 16 months, $50 each. That was $800 I hadn't known I was giving. I didn't confront them at the cabin. What I did was call my friend who is a financial advisor, right there from the pull-out couch with the covers pulled over my head. She had been suggesting for 2 years that I separate my finances from my family's, and I had kept saying I would, eventually. She answered on the third ring and I said, I'm ready to do it now, all of it. I need you to walk me through every step. She did. We talked for 40 minutes. By the time I hung up, I had a plan and a list. The cabin weekend ended without incident. I drove home Sunday afternoon, smiled at everyone, said I had a great time. I did not tell them what was coming. The week after Thanksgiving, I went to my bank, removed myself from my parents' joint account, and flagged the recurring $50 transfer to dispute with the bank. I'll also close the secondary card I had given my mom for emergencies 2 years earlier, the one she had used for a spa day in September and a new Keurig in October. My friend helped me draft a simple document, not a legal threat, just a clean accounting. Every transfer, every payment, every loan that had been called a loan and then quietly forgotten. I had it formatted clearly, with dates and amounts and the original text promising repayment. Then I sent a text to my mom, my dad and Wade asking if we could do a family video call the first weekend of December. I said I wanted to talk through holiday plans. My mom responded with a string of heart emojis. She thought I was calling to confirm Christmas at my apartment. The call started the way these things usually do. My dad on his phone in the recliner half listening. Wade in his kitchen with the kids in the background. My mom at the kitchen table looking pleased with herself. I had my laptop open and my friend on standby. I said, before we talk about Christmas, I want to go over something. My mom said, oh, is this about the menu? I was thinking. It's not about the menu. I shared my scream. The spreadsheet was simple and brutal. Column A, date. Column B, what it was for. Column C, amount. Column D, what was said about repayment. Column E, amount repaid. Column E was almost entirely zeros. In the last 3 years, I said, keeping my voice as steady as I could, I've transferred a combined total of just over $23,000 to this family. That includes loans I was told would be paid back, bills I covered, the cabin last month, and the groceries I bought for the cabin. I paused. It also includes $800 that was being withdrawn from my account without my knowledge through the joint account I was added to. Total silence. My dad said, Quinn, I'm not done. I walked them through it the way I had gone through it alone in the dark. Dad's truck repair, the 2 mortgage months, Wade's Benmo requests, 11 of them over 2 years, small amounts that added up. My mom's credit card, the Keurig, the spa, 4 tanks of gas over 3 months. My mom's face had gone white. You're not saying what I think you're saying. I'm saying I have every record. I'm saying I'm done being the person you come to when things don't add up. And I'm saying that if anyone in this family wants to tell people I'm being selfish or ungrateful or that I turned my back on you, I will share this spreadsheet with whoever wants to see it. Wade said, this is insane. You're going to blow up the family over this? I didn't create this situation, Wade. I documented it. My dad went quiet in the way he does when he's angry but doesn't have an argument. My mom started crying, the kind of crying that was real and not real at the same time. We're your family, she said. We needed help. That's what family does. Family asks, I said. They don't assume. They don't pull money out of a joint account without saying anything. They don't plan Christmas at someone's apartment without checking first. And they don't put someone on a pullout couch in the cabin she paid for. Something crossed my mom's face at that last one. For just a second, she looked like she wanted to say something real. I pulled up the next screen. My friend was on standby. I said, I also want you to hear something from someone who knows more about this than I do. I brought her in. She introduced herself calmly and explained what it means to co-own a bank account, what unauthorized recurring transfers look like from a legal standpoint, and what my options were now that I had removed myself. She was not threatening. She was factual. That was somehow worse. My dad said, who is this person? Someone I should have called 2 years ago, I said. I thanked her and ended her portion of the call. The four of us were quiet for a moment. Then I said, I'm not taking anyone to court. I'm not going to post this online. But I need all of you to understand that the version of me who just quietly covered things is gone. She's been gone for a while, but none of you noticed because I never said anything. I looked at my mom. There is no Christmas at my apartment this year. I'll come to you for one day and I'll bring something and we'll have a normal dinner. But I'm not hosting 20 people in my studio because it's convenient for the family. I'm not the logistics coordinator for this family anymore. Wade said, so you're just done. You're just cutting us off. I'm not cutting you off. I'm stopping a pattern. Those are different things. He hung up. My parents stayed on the call for another minute. My mom still crying. My dad staring at a wall. I love you both, I said, and I meant it. But I can't keep loving you at the cost of myself. Figure out your own bills. Figure out your own budget. I'll be here as your daughter, not your bank. I closed the laptop. The fallout started the next morning. My mom posted something vague on Facebook about the loneliness of the holidays when family disappoints you, and within 2 hours, 3 of my aunts had commented with sad faces and prayers. My cousin texted me and said, your mom seems really upset. What's going on? I didn't answer publicly. I didn't jump into my mom's comments to defend myself. I just sent my cousin a message that said it's a misunderstanding. I'm handling it with them directly. But I also screenshotted every comment, every vague post, every sad face. And then, because this is where the old version of me would have stopped, I did something different. I sent my mom a private message. I said, I saw the post, I understand you're hurting. But you told me if things got too hard, you'd always be honest with me. So I'm asking you to be honest now publicly and take it down, or I'll need to share context that I'd rather keep private. I attached the first 2 pages of the spreadsheet. She took the post down within the hour. My dad, who had not spoken to me since the call, called me 4 days later. Not to apologize exactly, but to say that he talked to a credit counselor, that they were refinancing some debt. That Shallow had mentioned a way that she thought what happened was fair, actually, and that my dad had heard about it secondhand and let it rattle around for a few days. I didn't know your mom was doing the transfer thing, he said. I want you to know I didn't know that. I believe you, I said. It doesn't make the rest of it right. No, I said, it doesn't. We didn't say a lot after that, but it was the most honest conversation I had ever had with my dad, and it was 3 minutes long. Christmas was quiet. I drove to my parents' house, brought a pie, sat at the table for 3 hours. My mom hugged me in the kitchen when no one was looking and whispered, I know I messed up. I didn't say it's fine because it wasn't. I said, I know. That was enough for now. Wade and I didn't speak much. He was distant in the way people get when they know they've been wrong but haven't figured out how to say it yet. His kids climbed on me the whole afternoon. That part was the same as it had always been. Chaotic and loud, and something I didn't want to give up. On the drive home, I called my friend. She asked how it went. Weird, I said. Better than I expected, worse than I hoped. She laughed. That's pretty much how it goes. I got home after midnight. My apartment was quiet and dark and entirely mine. I sat on the couch with a glass of water and looked at my banking app, the way I had been doing out of habit for over a year. No new Venmo requests, no transfers I hadn't authorized, no texts asking if I could cover something just until Friday. I had a follow-up appointment with my financial advisor in January to start putting the money I'd been hemorrhaging into an actual retirement account instead. I had plans to take myself somewhere warm in February, the first vacation I'd taken alone in 3 years, paid for by no one but me. My mom texted that night just, "Thank you for coming today, I love you." I stared at it for a while. I thought about all the Christmases before this one. The ones where I'd driven 8 hours and slept on couches and bought groceries and hosted things I didn't agree to and gone home broke and exhausted and still somehow convinced myself that this was what love looked like. That sacrifice without being asked was the same as being needed. I typed back, I love you too. Get some sleep. And I meant it. Both parts. Because here's what I've learned. Loving your family and protecting yourself are not opposite things. The people who treat them like opposites are usually the ones who want you to keep sacrificing so they don't have to start. The moment you stop, the moment you open that spreadsheet and say out loud, this is what it actually cost, that's the moment you find out who was there for you and who was just there for the balance in your account. I don't know what happens next with my family. My dad is working with a counselor. My mom is talking to me again carefully, honestly. Wade and I are somewhere in the cold middle of a conversation we haven't fully started yet. None of it is resolved. None of it is clean. But for the first time in years, my name is the only one on my accounts. And when my phone rings late at night, I don't feel dread anymore. Just quiet. Just mine. I used to think that being the dependable one was a compliment. That when my mom called me so easy to count on, that was love. I believed it for a long time, maybe because I needed to. Because the alternative, that I was being counted on the way you count on a vending machine, reliably, without gratitude, was too uncomfortable to sit with. What I know now is that the way things unfolded with my family wasn't random. It followed a pattern that I had allowed, one quiet yes at a time. Every time I covered a bill without asking for it back, I taught the people around me that I would do it again. Every time I swallowed my discomfort and made up the pull-out couch, I confirmed that my needs were negotiable and theirs were not. Cause and effect doesn't care about your intentions, it only tracks your actions. And my actions for 3 years said, take what you need, I'll manage. What changed things wasn't my anger. I'd been angry before, silently, in parking lots and on late night drives home. What changed things was that I finally did something harder than getting angry. I got honest. I sat down, opened a spreadsheet, and looked at what was actually there instead of what I'd been telling myself. That kind of clarity takes something. It takes the willingness to stop protecting other people from the truth of what they've done, even when those people are your family. Especially then. Quinn didn't walk into that video call swinging. She walked in with documentation, with a professional she trusted, with a plan she'd built carefully over weeks. That's not impulsiveness. That's what it looks like when someone finally decides that their own life is worth the same effort they've been pouring into everyone else's. The composure she held in that call, keeping her voice steady while her mom cried and her dad went cold and her brother hung up, that wasn't coldness. That was the result of finally understanding that how loudly someone reacts does not determine how wrong you were to say the thing. The hardest part, the part nobody talks about when they talk about setting limits with family, is that it doesn't feel like freedom right away. It feels like loss. It feels like sitting alone in a quiet apartment on Christmas Eve wondering if you did the right thing. That part is real. And the only way through it is to trust that doing right by yourself is not the same as doing wrong by someone else. What I keep coming back to is this. The people in our lives learn how to treat us from us, not from what we say, but from what we accept, from what we quietly absorb, from what we let pass without naming. The moment Quinn named it, put the numbers on a screen and said out loud, this is what it actually cost, everything had to shift. Because you can't unsee a spreadsheet. You can't unhear a calm voice reading back 3 years of your own choices. If there's anything worth taking from a story like this, it's that the most decent thing you can do for yourself and honestly for the people around you is to stop pretending. Stop pretending it doesn't hurt. Stop pretending the math doesn't matter. Stop pretending that sacrifice without acknowledgement is the same as love. It isn't. And the sooner you're honest enough to say so, the sooner everyone in the room has a chance to be better. Quinn's family isn't fixed. Wade still hasn't said the words. Her dad called once and it lasted 3 minutes. But her mom hugged her in a kitchen and whispered, I know I messed up, and that was real. That was a start. That's what honesty makes room for. When everything else has been cleared away,